The 10 best looking F1 cars this decade. F1 cars have changed rather a lot in the past 10 years. And let's face it, while what we have today looks alright, some have been pretty questionable. So here's what I think the 10 best looking F1 cars this decade are. Number 10. Toro Rosso STR12. Instead of using the traditional paint scheme seen over the past seasons, the new car sported a striking new blue, red and silver livery, the colours used for Red Bull's Simply Cola beverage. Whilst the livery being the main reason for this car featuring in this top 10 list, it did have a few resemblances to another car which is featured on this list, which you'll see pretty clearly. Number 9. The 2017 Mercedes W08. Remember that car I said had a resemblance to the Toro Rosso on this list? This is it. With the new regulations for 2017, there was the potential for all the cars to have a very different look to them. However, as we just mentioned, the Toro Rosso and Mercedes ended up looking very quite similar, whilst Ferrari went a completely different direction in terms of the regulations. However, both the Mercedes and the Toro Rosso were very good looking cars, especially with the long wheelbase of the Mercedes. It just gave it that little bit extra flair and a little bit extra added, shall we say, aesthetics on track. Number 8. The Lotus E21 from 2013. Whilst its predecessor was also a good looking car, I found the Lotus E21 was just that little bit extra better looking, mostly just because of the red on the side pod to be honest, but nevertheless both cars equally on their own right have a place in Formula 1 history in terms of aesthetics, and also they were both pretty successful cars on track as well with Kimi Räikkönen. 7th on the list now is the Red Bull RB9 from 2013. With the Red Bull RB8 managed to make the step nose look reasonable in 2012, in 2013 they'd managed to make it look rather damn good. They also made additional changes to the livery that year, with the dash of purple added to the side pods, giving it that Infinity premium feel out on circuit. Number 6, we have the Ferrari SF78 from 2017. Aha, so here we are, our first Ferrari on the list. With the Ferrari SF78 also being the first Ferrari of the new rule changes in the 2017 season, it went a vastly different way to Mercedes, having a shorter wheelbase and also innovating side pod inlets, giving it a rather sleek look out on circuit, as well as Ferrari testing the shield later on in the season from certain angles, giving it a spaceship look. Now we're into the top 5, with 5th place going to the McLaren MP4 25 from the 2010 season. Now we're into a time of truly iconic Formula 1 liveries, the famous chrome and red McLaren Vodafone sponsorship livery, and whilst it's not the best looking car with this livery, in this decade it is still the second best car with this livery on, which means there is one more Vodafone McLaren liveried car on this list. It's just a very sleek, clean looking Formula 1 car, which is rare to see nowadays. Number 4 goes to the Mercedes W10 from the 2019 season. Remember everything I said about clean, sleek looking Formula 1 cars? You can scrap that with this latest generation. Since 2017 it's been all about trying to get as many aerodynamic gadgets as you can on the bodywork. 2019 they've tried to simplify that, and this was Mercedes' outcome of that, and it is one of the best looking F1 cars on the current 2019 grid, as well as by far and away Mercedes' best livery to the current day. Now we're in the top 3, with 3rd place going to McLaren with the MCL34 from the 2019 season. We've already seen one McLaren on the list with the MP4 25, but this is the only McLaren to feature that doesn't have the Vodafone livery. Whilst livery alone doesn't decipher where a car goes on the list or how good it looks, it does play a major role. The MCL34 managed to hit the nail on the head with the papaya orange. Having had the previous 2 years trialling out orange liveried cars, the 2017 and 2018 cars respectively somehow managed to flop, while the 2019 car had the perfect blend of papaya orange, blue and black, with the blue obviously showing off McLaren's Shadow Racing esports team, but also just the chassis and the design, from some angles again making it look like a spaceship, which is what we really want our Formula 1 cars to look like. Or is it? Let me know down below, how do you like your F1 cars in the afternoon? Taking the penultimate spot on the list is another McLaren with the MP4 27 from the 2012 season. For me really, I could take it either way. You could give me the pre-step nose McLaren, or you could give me the post-step nose McLaren, with the post-step nose McLaren looking more kind of like a swooshy nose rather than the Ferrari and the Red Bull where there was a noticeable drop. Either way, the car looked magnificent and by far and away was the best looking car on the grid. Really this year you could only base the looks of the cars based off how they did the noses, with Ferrari having a hideous interpretation of the rules, but also again McLaren featuring that beautiful Vodafone McLaren red in chrome. Now before we get into the number one, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, so let's have a look at some honourable mentions. And number one, the Ferrari F10. This car definitely holds some bias for me. It was Fernando Alonso's first Ferrari, but the main thing that I love about this car was just the barcode they came out with in Bahrain. It was just such a different looking thing we'd seen on Formula 1 cars. And also, do you remember earlier I was talking about sleek looking Formula 1 cars? Well, this is just one of them, isn't it? It had a beautiful sort of shark fin going to the rear wing. Just simplified aerodynamics. It didn't look too crazy. It just looked right. And I love that in Formula 1. Sometimes. So what's your favourite Formula 1 car been this decade?